Yeah, my name is Martti Mela. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Asumma. We design sustainable custom homes, and we want to build these for everyone, everywhere. My background is in technology and design. I first graduated from Helsinki University of Technology, and then later on from Aalto University from the Media Lab. And I've made an international career in Germany, in Berlin, and then because of COVID-19, me and our family we moved back to Finland, actually in the middle of the forest in the northern Finland, and this was right before the COVID-19 hit, and let's say it turned into a pandemic. So this was in the beginning of 2020, and then here in the forest. When we started to see how everything started to, where the lockdowns happened, we realized that we were actually in a pretty safe place, and we were wondering, because everyone started doing remote work, like could we actually start offering homes for people who are, let's say, office workers and creative class, who would instead of paying high rents in the big cities, they would actually want to start putting the money in their own pockets and build a beautiful house for themselves, or buy a house further from the city for themselves. And then we started thinking that, well, actually buying an old house might be cheap, but at the same time people might be experienced with different kind of problems when it comes to mold and water damages possibly, and the building standards were different. Then energy efficiency was something people haven't even heard of. So then we thought, okay, what about then if we would start building houses, but we would do it so that they're architecturally stunning, they're easy to buy, and they would be extremely sustainable. And these three pillars were the ones that we started building Asumma on. And we were very lucky then that we got first investors already then in the beginning. We did an angel investor round, and then soon after then we're very grateful that Kiilto joined us, and especially Ville Solja, Christopher Mills, and Jussi Hannula were then the ones who were looking our venture together with us, and then decided that, hey, let's go forward. And now we are here. So very, very happy to share my thoughts with you all. Maybe I prepared a short presentation for you that maybe I could use that as an opportunity to discuss in detail what we do, and then we can then move towards let's say like a Q&A and more of a dialogue. How does that sound, Thomas?
That sounds great. Thank you, Martti.
Okay. Yeah, so at Asumma, we build custom and sustainable homes for everyone. And when we look at the current single-family home market, actually anywhere, we've learned that for home buyers, building a custom home is expensive, and it's very complicated. And people usually they start with very grandiose ideas how the house should look like, but then they learn that because nothing is standard, it's expensive. Then maybe the design structures and the decisions are very complex, and that requires more skilled labor, which is expensive. But that would be a dream home. But then people really they settle with catalog houses, and here's one example of those. So usually the quality is not the driving factor in the decision making. It's really about the price, but also the customization options are very limited. But at the same time, it is an easy purchase. So this is where we come in then. So we are building a construction platform that turns home buyers' 3D designs into physical homes, so that you can really, from the beginning to the end, with our platform, you can really buy the house and get that actually built. And our houses are built with sustainable CLT, that is our main construction material, so cross-laminated timber. It's an engineered wood product, roughly 25 to 30 years old, first manufactured in Austria. We have some background. Was there a question? Oh, maybe not. Okay. So yeah, and CLT is our main construction material. It can be ordered from over 30 different factories throughout Europe. It's a massive wood product, so it also meets tightening environmental regulations, not only in Finland, but actually elsewhere, everywhere in the Europe. And because it's a very sustainable wood product, also mass timber projects like ones made of CLT can also get better financing terms now because of the European Green Deal. And the structures themselves are very robust. You can build a skyscraper out of CLT. You can't do that with timber frame or even with log. And these are also very healthy structures. The humidity doesn't condensate inside the material, but it actually is a breathable material that also then regulates the indoor humidity in the houses. And obviously, the main reason why we chose CLT is that it enables stunning, beautiful architectural possibilities, very much not limiting ourselves to log in that regard. And so how we make how our design process works is that we are developing further our parametric design system with the idea that it will replace expensive architects and engineers. So all the work that usually goes into custom home designs is done by people, and people cost a lot of money. Nothing is necessarily standardized, and we want to make this extremely efficient with our technology. And these designs that we generate with our parametric design system, they are also production ready. This means that our partner factories are able to manufacture them very efficiently. We optimize the designs for each of our factory partners. So we don't actually own any production lines ourselves, but we use a network, a marketplace of different suppliers. This also enables us to scale because we can just increase our capacity and throughput by adding more factories into our platform. This is the beauty of this business model as well. So this is how we can serve different geographical areas as well, just by working with local factories in those areas. Okay, so now we have elements that can actually be assembled, but who's going to do this? So that's why we also have a contractor network then that consists of local workers and local construction crews, and we make it easy for them to assemble our houses because we generate these instructions. So we want to think that how we will operate is that we actually do like IKEA-like instruction kits or instructions that make it very easy to put our houses together. We will then onboard and educate our partner builders so that they know what is the goal, what are we aiming at, what is the quality that we are aiming at, but anyway that we make it as easy as possible for them. And Asumma is started by 3 co-founders. I have a couple of software patents when I was still working for Nokia. I have a long background in PropTech and software development as well from my early childhood. Vitali is our CPO. He has a very strong background in real estate and finance as well, and he's been working as a product manager for different PropTech ventures before founding Asumma with us. And Pekka is our chief architect. One of the buildings that he designed or was part of the design team is a Finlandia Prize for Architecture winner, and he is specialized in mass customization and wood construction and building information modeling, and has a master's degree in architecture from Tampere. We have wonderful support also from angel investors and angel syndicates and Kiilto. And we see that this is very important for us because these are really like industry specialists who provide their network and knowledge with us and for us making Asumma a success. And I'm going to finish soon this part of the presentation, just showing you a few of the houses that are currently either finished or will be finished in the next couple of weeks. So here's one tiny house in Saimaa. We think this is quite beautiful with the lighting inside of it. It's 30 square meters, and the CLT elements that were put together, it took roughly 2 days to have everything in place. and also the sliding walls here, it's roughly 15 minutes per one sliding wall. There are 4 of them to put them in place. So very efficient construction. And here, depending now on my network connection here, you might be seeing a time-lapse video of one of our recent houses that were built or are being built in Klaukkala in Nurmijärvi. You can see that actually it looks like it's floating in the air, and it's because it's standing on steel piles, and we thought this is quite beautiful because it's a bit of a hill there. So actually the house is just standing on the piles, and we don't use concrete foundation for this house. And now you can start seeing how the CLT assembly crew started their work. This is the first day, first afternoon, a couple of weeks back on Monday, and how fast it is to actually put everything in place. This is now then the next day, Tuesday, and so the walls start to be soon in place. And all of our designs are made with an accuracy of 1 square millimeter, and also the CLT elements are manufactured by our partner factories with the same accuracy. So it's also very, very nice for the assembly teams to put everything in place. They need to know, of course, that this is the resolution that we require, but actually everything fits perfectly together like Lego blocks. So this is a really beautiful way to save time during the on-site construction and make sure that we also get säältä suojaan or shelter from weather-ready houses in a matter of a couple of days. I'll go a bit forward, so you see here how now the house frame starts to be fully built, and then we are already at the position where the roof is being then assembled. So yeah, this is one example here, and then showing you how the house now looks like from inside. Let's see how we can get to that slide. One moment. Okay, here we go. Yeah. So now these are the still images then from the same house. You can see this is a mid-floor here. This is made with posit joists, very fast to assemble. And the living room here looks quite beautiful. We want to say that this is like a sacral or sacred in a sense. All the dimensions are very beautifully thought through. The ceiling height here in the living room is about 7 meters, and then you can get to the balcony and to the second floor using the stairs at the end of the house. And yeah, this should be finished in the autumn this year. Here's another house then in Siuntio, roughly 100 square meters. Beautiful house, and also made of CLT with cladding, timber cladding or wood cladding outside. Beautiful patio outside as well. Then here a couple of more houses also in Siuntio, beautiful ones. And yeah, thank you so much. I hope you're still all awake and happy to continue the discussion in more free form onwards.
Yeah, sure. So I think everybody can head to the chat if you want to ask a question, but I think it was very practical to see the time lapse, so the complement to the digital renders. So thank you for giving us an easy visualization. I guess I can start off with my own question. Hopefully everybody else can follow. Have you guys thought about the disassembly of these buildings? Like in the future, if someone wanted to if they had maybe a smaller model, could they potentially pack it up and leave now that it's not kind of grounded in the foundation, like with this concrete footers? Like, is there any way to move the house or even just assemble it like with Legos?
The tiny houses are possible to transport elsewhere as well. Here the structure has been really designed so that even though the assembly is done on site, moving them elsewhere is possible. The main reason why we don't assemble these in the factory is because we were actually trying to optimize that multiple times so that everything would be built off-site and done just with a huge crane brought in place, and that's it. On-site assembly would be then essentially in hours instead of days. But we weren't able to find a solution that would make it cost efficient enough due to the factory margins, and we just thought that this is not going to work. And then actually it was Vitali, our co-founder, who said that why would we even bring this through the factory anymore? We've already optimized the design so that it's super fast to assemble. So let's just assemble it on site and let's keep the factory assembly fully. And this was brilliant because now what we really learned is that this is a way to optimize the transportation cost because we are not transporting air. If you think that there's a house, most of it is just air. Also, then the actual on-site assembly goes fast, and we can work with local crews who are able to follow our instructions as well. So yes, it's possible to transport them also elsewhere. With bigger houses, that would be more complex, and I don't see that necessarily is feasible. But extending a house would be possible. That's something that we've been also designing and working on already. That if you, for example, build a 120 square meter house now, what are the ways that we could extend that by 1 or 2 rooms, for example, by 30 square meters more? So now, when your life situation changes, you can grow the house as well.
Okay, perfect. And I guess this is a predictable question from UC Hanala, but what kind of support could Kiilto as a whole provide to help Asumma's journey?
Well, UC has been quite integral already, and first of all, we already have monthly sparring sessions with Jussi, Chris, and now also with Martti, Rönkkö, and then Ville also before. And so this is quite important, like idea sharing and ideation. Also, you have a very strong understanding in climate tech and also in construction tech by Kiilto Ventures. So this is something that this kind of like an ecosystem building and network building is definitely one. And also, obviously, your house is full of like absolute specialists in life cycle assessment and sustainability. And also, you have very strong business focus in construction. So I see that this is definitely something that we are able to leverage even more in the future.
Well said. Anybody else from the audience, just so that it's not just a 2-man show of me and Jussi? I know that there's experts in construction, and I bribed you guys with automation and words like asset-light business factory. So anything in terms of that? I guess why they think I can also ask another question is, I'm always interested in how you kind of sense the market opportunity, and I have some general understanding of what you mentioned before, but did living in Berlin kind of help you with an outside perspective? Because sometimes when we're in a different country, we can see things a little easier than they were before, so that you might have recognized something in that market and then transferred it to Finland, if that makes sense. Like, was there anything unique to your German experience that you felt that was like a transferable skill in terms of tech or building a platform?
Well, Berlin is really a tech hub of Europe, and everyone is somehow affiliated with working in tech. So that's definitely something, and I think that it's a very inspiring environment. A lot of smart people with different ideas, but also what is very important that there is a very functioning financing ecosystem or funding ecosystem in terms of angels, family offices, angel syndicates, and VCs. So that there's kind of like there's a platform for getting financial support for when you want to bring your idea further. Also, access to talent is one thing. This is especially true before pre-pandemic. It's easy to hire people there because even though the competition for talent is high, but also the number of people who are moving to Berlin has been very high. So you can just get like access to great minds very easily. I think that this is something that definitely changed because after the COVID-19, because people realized that like remote work is absolutely fine. It just requires setting certain ways of working and processes in place, and then you can have a global pool of talent. And this is exactly our thinking. So we are a remote first company. We don't really have any office anywhere. What's obviously needed is that some of our team members are able to visit the sites because that is still very location specific, but all the work can be done anywhere. One of our colleagues was working in Canada, and now, for example, Vitali has been still working from the Central Europe or now in Asia. as well our team members when they say that, hey, I would like to work from Copenhagen for a couple of weeks. So I'm just like, please don't send pictures, but everything else is fine. And so I think this is something that, let's say Berlin is not anymore, they don't have an upper hand in that regard, but access to talent was important, and then also access to financing. Access to financing also is pretty good in Finland, but somehow interestingly, what I see personally is that the Finnish investors have smaller pockets, so that also impacts then the valuation. But if you then hop on the plane, and then in 2 hours you're in Berlin, you're talking about completely different opportunities, just because the financing world is quite different in that regard.
Thank you. And I guess the next question would be, what kind of growth plans do you have?
Raija, thank you for the question. So where we currently are is we are at the earliest stages, but we've been very happy with the demand that we've been able to generate over the course of last 2 years. And what we are currently working on is to increase the level of automation. That means directly that we can reduce the so-called like unit costs in our work, because we spend less time with the design, because more and more of the work has been already automated. So in a sense, we are creating a Lego block library. And with every new customer, this library grows a little bit, because if we didn't have those Lego blocks in place, now we will design those. And now for the next customer, we have once again more blocks. So this means that with every new customer, the time spent per project gets reduced. And we see that the growth is possible with this model, where we just add more and more factories, and then more and more local like on-site crews into the platform, and then we just do the construction management. So the whole idea is that we try to understand what are the bottlenecks, and so that we don't either we automate the bottlenecks, or we work with local contractors who are then specialized in that area. And this is a way for us to scale. And then regarding our plans, so we want to grow big enough in Finland first, and then within next 1 or 2 years, we're starting to look at the Central Europe as well. Fun fact, in Central, let's say in Germany, roughly 100,000 single-family homes and semi-detached houses are built every year, but only roughly 22-23% of them are prefabricated, so mostly done on site. And we see that there's a huge opportunity when we just go a little bit further south from Finland, but we want to become the Europe's largest builder for houses.
Okay. So this one's a little bit longer-winded. Would you like to read it from the chat?
Okay, I'll read it. Tanel, thank you for the question. So about pricing, do you sell the house as product, or you sell the living place as a solution or service? In case you sell product, what is the cost of 100 square meter house? In case it is a service, what will be the monthly fee? Very interesting question. We sell them as they are products for us. And yeah, if anyone is interested in more about this, so please feel free to reach out to me later. So the price per square meter, or the price for the house, significantly varies depending on the customer. All of our houses are fully customized for our home buyers, so it means that they have different needs. The size is one, budget is one, plot plays a role, obviously. And then the final word is kind of said by the building authority in terms of how the house can look like and what are its dimensions. The price per square meter does also vary significantly. It's fair to say it starts from maybe 2,600 euros per square meter and it goes way above it, depending on are we optimizing for the budget, or are we optimizing more, let's say, for the architecture and the let's say the prestigious 7-meter tall living rooms.
Okay, I think this is kind of a donkey bridge, as they would say, but in terms of building a resilient supply chain, is there a certain raw material that keeps you up at night? And do you find having an asset-light approach gives you more peace of mind, or does it almost bring you more pain points early on, like not having the ownership?
This is brilliant. So asset-light business. So maybe just to reiterate what it means, it really means that we don't invest in factories. We only invest in technology. and we also don't carry the risks of downturn because we don't have fixed costs with these these factory lines or production lines. That is one aspect. So we see that this is the best way to build a big business. We also think that if you think of any prefab company, essentially, what does a prefab company do? If one says, okay, they build houses, then that's not correct. They build mostly wall elements, but nothing else. Everything else comes from their suppliers. And then our thinking was like, if you want to build houses, do you even need to build the walls yourself? Can't you just get those from somewhere else? And this was kind of the idea that we started to think that, yeah, actually, like, let's not own anything except the IP and the technology. And then this also comes now then towards what you asked about the resilient supply chain. So that's the core idea, that if we have multiple different factories and manufacturers and suppliers in the platform, we can also do the procurement very straightforward way. And who wins the bid is not necessarily the one that is cheapest, but that is the one that is the most reliable, provides the highest quality, and has a short lead time, for example. So we can, with every project, we can optimize and decide what is the right supply chain for this house. So we might have two houses that are similar, but that they might look identical, but we might have different suppliers for each of them, depending on different factors. And when it comes to resilient supply chain, so this is the exact idea that when we have enough redundancy in building the platform, we can always find the right partners that are able to work with us, even though someone else's factory might be on fire. So how to make sure that there are no disruptions is to have a platform that does the procurement and builds the supply chain ad hoc per house. Okay.
And this kind of is related to the last question, and it says, why do you use different CLT factories? Are those not enough in Finland? And I will guess the second part of that would be, I noticed you had 30 listed in your PowerPoint earlier. Are you involved with 30 factories right now, or that is part of your kind of vision or plan? And just to recap that, yeah, do you have any factories basically outside of Finland at the moment?
We are engaged with multiple factories, but so far, with our current houses that are now being built, we've been working with Finnish factories only. We are very, very happy with the quality. Like this is very important for us. Also, we know that the actual timber, the wood comes from Finnish FSC certified forests, so that everything is sustainable. Everything is done so that we know that this is ethically produced and manufactured. And this is one of the key ideas in our business. We also see that it's possible to work with multiple different CLT factories. For example, if we were building something in Germany or Austria, it doesn't necessarily make sense that we transport CLT from Finland, but it's both cheaper and we produce less CO2 emissions when the transportation is minimized. There are very good CLT factories in Central Europe, in Austria, and Germany as well. That might make sense for us when we build something in that area. So we always also want to understand, like, what is the distance from the factory to the site? How can we minimize this? And also, obviously, if we minimize the transportation distance, we usually also minimize then the cost of transportation.
Okay, and I think that you mentioned a good word, carbon emissions, and anybody that's dealing with a startup wants to create the buzz. But how do you kind of navigate a world of greenwashing when you could almost make claims that carbon sequestration and that you would take, because it's built with CLT, carbon from the atmosphere? Like, how does that play a factor in your kind of business voice?
So already 1.5 years ago, we did the first life cycle assessment for one of the first houses that were still on the drawing table at that point. And based on this data, we saw that it's very likely that we would actually be carbon negative with when the life cycle was either 50 or 100 years. This would be possible with the ground source heat pumps and with the solar panels on the roof. So CLT was selected as one of the best, like, for our main construction material, because it can be industrially manufactured. It's mass timber product. but also, as you mentioned, it's a carbon storage. And due to this fact, we're able to maximize the carbon handprint of the houses. And then when we, for example, try to minimize the use of concrete, for example, not building concrete foundation for where possible, this also then reduces the carbon footprint of our houses. We don't use, also in our walls, so in addition to CLT, our houses are in energy class A, and we use also wood fiber insulation and also wood fiber wind barriers. And then we have the wood cladding. So by using wood here, we are able to really make sure that the houses are permanent carbon storages, and then we minimize the use of plastics and concrete in our houses.
Okay, that was a simple way of explaining that. And as you probably could have predicted, somebody's asking, do you have any current competitors, or do you see anybody arising on the horizon?
So yeah, I think that first of all, a competition is very healthy, and it also drives us and helps us also to understand how are others building houses, how are others building houses, but also makes us understand like what makes us unique and why there's a huge opportunity here. And yes, there's competition, and it's we could say that competition is essentially any house builder is a competitor in this regard. But let's say in our segment, customer segment, our competitors are more like companies that are also focusing on mass timber products, and we see that they are great products. They have beautiful houses as well, but we see that we are able to create wonderful designs and very high quality living. That is very, let's say the price point is very competitive compared to these others. So, but then also when we discuss, if the question is more about, do we see any other like construction tech companies in this domain? We see several in the US, in the single family home market. We also see that those companies they've been raising from tens of millions to hundreds of millions in funding, and they have built from 20 to 100 houses. And comparing to us, we're extremely cash efficient. We're a very young company still. And we see that our business model is something that enables us also to grow this very sustainably. And those might be also great companies for us to acquire at some point.
Great points. So I guess this one's kind of a obvious but a good question, because I didn't think about this either. But is it possible to choose a type of wood as well, like birch or pine, or do you always have a go-to in terms of the substance?
Well, CLT is mostly manufactured of spruce, and the main reason here is especially the visual layer. So CLT consists of 3 to 5 to 7 layers of wood, and usually people prefer the spruce over pine because spruce is light; it's not yellow like pine is, and this is more neutral color that's easier also than maybe to recolor, but it gives you more opportunities. In Central Europe, we know that it's also very typical to use pine, especially in the mid layers. So those two can be used. When it comes to birch, I wouldn't know about the qualities of birch in let's say bearing wall construction, but for example, some of the surfaces obviously could be also made of birch.
Okay, that's the questions from the chat so far. Would you like to invent a question to answer yourself, or do you have anything on top of your mind in terms of maybe trends that could be related to your startup as well as things at Kiilto and construction? And we've already talked about modular building and on-site, off-site construction. Do you see another one kind of coming up with climate tech and such that would affect a corporate like us, or in terms of the collaboration potential between your startup and what we do?
Do you mean like if I see other collaboration opportunities?
Yeah, or I guess in general, like how construction is changing and how corporate can learn from how you're kind of seeing a little bit one step ahead. Um, because we have organizational inertia and you seem to be the king of flexibility here.
I think that there's a huge opportunity with the regulatory changes. In like that is now Finland specific, but from 2025 onwards, the wood construction, for example, is significantly preferred over stone or brick, for example. And this means that anything that helps companies to navigate this new regulatory environment probably will be quite interesting. Soon also the already at the building permit stage, the application needs to list the main construction materials, and if I'm not mistaken, soon after also the carbon footprint has to be calculated for this. So I see that there's a big opportunity here in helping companies to transition in sustainable and green materials, and a company like Kiilto would definitely be able to support many within this industry.
Perfect. And I just have one final question myself, and then I guess we can conclude this a little ahead of time to keep the conversation lean. But what made you really attack single family homes? Because I know that you have one person on your team that was like maybe co-awarded for a big contract. Is there any way that you would pivot and try to chase after bigger not residential, but like commercial contracts? Or is it you're really doubling down on these single family homes because, like you said, your growth plan in Middle Europe and stuff like that? Do you ever sometimes second guess like where you want to go?
Maybe, yeah, let's maybe, I would ask you a question, like just maybe if you kind of come up with a figure, like what do you think, how many people as a percentage live in apartments in Europe versus, let's say, single family homes or semi-detached houses or terrace houses?
Well, I live in such a biased worldview because I live in Helsinki. So of course I see so many people in apartments, but I guess it could be almost, I would say 80-20, but at the same time, there's so many more people living in cities. So it's really hard to tell. Well,
so 80% living in apartments.
I would even say maybe, yeah, 80% in apartments. No, I don't know. I have no clue. Yeah. Because I know that the rest of the world still lives in the countryside to some extent.
Yes, exactly. This is something that we find also fascinating because this also was a surprise to us when we started to look at this like market data. So 53% of the European population live in single family homes, terraced houses or semi-detached houses, and less than half live in apartments. So the actual market for for single family homes, it's huge. And we know that there are interesting players in the apartment building or multifamily domain, and you can get certain economies of scale when you in one project you have 30 identical apartments versus one. But for us, the fastest way to enter the market, or let's say our go-to-market, are the single-family homes. And why is this? We need 3 to 4 Google Meets with leads before we sign a purchase or like a contract with them by a DocuSign. And how many stakeholders are there? Well, maybe let's say from 2 to 5. 2 are the ones that make the decision, and then the 3 are the ones who will move with the parents. So kids' opinion matters, but they're not signing the agreement. So it's extremely fast and straightforward to do business on a consumer with consumers and with single-family home market. At the same time, also the sales cycles are short. We can easily manage the whole construction project end to end, and we can learn so much from it. And but we want to build in every possible asset class in the future. We just see that this is the way for us to enter the market. And this virtual factory model that we are developing, which means that customers want certain kind of designs, we do our magic and out comes a house. This is not limited in single family homes at all, but this is our way to enter the market, and we see that we need to get enough traction here, and then we can start expanding also and serving also other needs as well.
Great answer. And pretend this is the bar and this is the last call. Any other questions from the audience? We have a great entrepreneurial mind, Martti, who's given great answers. So again, you don't have to think in just terms of the box of Asumma, Kiilto. Is there anything in terms of an entrepreneur and its characteristics that you like to know, or struggles or personal triumphs? So I will just say, like, we'll wait 30 seconds, see if anything comes up in the chat. Otherwise, we'll thank you for the conversation today and look forward to what comes next.
And hey, everyone, please, I would be very happy to connect with you also on LinkedIn. So just hook me up there, and we can also continue the discussion offline then.
Sure, that sounds like a great way forward. So it looks like it's kind of silent for now, but thank you so much, Martti, for joining us today and showing us your presentation and bringing some words to life, and also following up with our questions. So you're no longer in the hot seat, and enjoy the rest of the day today. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. It was really a pleasure, and I wish you all a wonderful start for the summer. And thank you for being our partners.
Yes, of course. Thank you, Martti. Hey, everybody else.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.